Hello to all of those who may be listening, which had best be some of our students for school, and this is going to be considered chapel for a few minutes. Well, I just want to share a few things with you girls, because I think it's going to be girls that's going to be listening. And I want to encourage you about making decisions. Because, girls, at your age, you have a lot of decisions to make, and some of them are going to be really, really important in your life. And I want to encourage you to always let God be in the middle of your decisions. And also, don't try and make decisions that will make you famous. I want to tell you a story, maybe you've read, studied about. Wrong Way Corrigan, Douglas Corrigan. This took place back in 1938, and Douglas Corrigan, he had, as a young person, he had a plane ride from a friend and got pilot fever. So to make a long story short, in about 1937-38, he bought a single engine airplane off of a junk pile, literally, and he refixed it, went over, and it was called kind of like a suicide plane because it, he did a good job rebuilding it, but it just wasn't made for what he wanted to do. So he flew that plane, 1938, from California to New York. He'd been trying for 3 years. He wanted to fly from New York to Dublin, Ireland, but he could not get permission. So when he landed in New York, Douglas Corrigan filed flight plans to fly from Brooklyn to Dublin, Ireland. And it was promptly rejected because they said his plane could not make it, and it was like flying a suicide mission. So Douglas Corrigan, the next day, the weather was terrible. It was hazy and just bad flying weather. So he took off. Well, he was set on flying to Dublin, Ireland. It was like a 28-hour flight. He had practically no food with him, just some candy bars and a few things like that. So he took off. He had refiled a flight plan to go back to California. They gave him permission to fly to California, take his plane back, but he could not fly out over the ocean. 28 hours later, Wrong Way Corrigan landed in Dublin, Ireland. And he had had some major problems with his plane, like gas leaks, and gas would leak out of his tank and get on the floor of his airplane. And he knocked a hole, though, in the bottom of the plane so the gas could leak out, so he wouldn't have to deal with the fumes. But anyhow, when he landed, young people, they had a celebration. The people there, although he did not have papers, to enter the country, they finally dropped that because it's such a wild venture anyhow. So they were going to toast him, and so they got us some champagne and such, and dignitaries were there, and they were the press was there, and this is a big story. Wrong Way Corrigan, he went the wrong way instead of going to California, and so it was said, well, he got lost. So he went along with that story, but I doubt that that's the reason that he went that way. But he said, hey, the weather's really bad, and it's amazing how easily you can get lost in a single engine plane, without the necessary instruments and everything. So anyhow, Wrong Way Corrigan, they had this big toast for him, young people, and they held up their drinks and such, and he said, no, thank you. I want water. I don't drink. And of all the things that Wrong Way Corrigan did in his life, he became quite a well-known individual of his own right, flying and such. But he was also remembered as the man who said, I want water, I don't drink. Surrounded by important people, newspaper people, government people, Wrong Way Corrigan stood up for his belief. He said, I do not drink alcohol. I'll drink water. And so he was remembered for that also because, as well as the wrong way flight, because it just wasn't the way a person would do, especially whenever you're surrounded by really important people. So, young people, I want you to remember the story about Wrong Way Corrigan. You can look it up on the internet or wherever and read a lot more about it. But Douglas Corrigan, known as Wrong Way, it didn't humiliate him. He was proud because he made that flight in a single engine plane, one that he had rebuilt and hadn't worked really good much of the time he had it. He just liked flying. So young people, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to make decisions when you're going to be kind of the only one that's going to make that decision, and you're not going to go along with the crowd. Maybe you'll have the opportunity to say, "I don't drink. I'll take water," and you may be surrounded by people that say, "Hey, we just turned 18, or we just turned 21, or we." Whatever, making excuses for why they drink, and you want to fit in with the crowd, but maybe it's not drinking. It may not be drinking, it may be something else. It may be your sexual life. You have to make decisions about that. Well, decisions about that are well made by considering God's way. Do it God's way. And decisions you have to make concerning your future. You may be advised to go into a certain field, and God has in mind that He wants you to go to a different field. Maybe He wants you doing something just for Him. And someone may say, "Well, there's no money in that," but it's really not about money. And it's not about fame. It's not about being popular. It's not about being anything except a child of God. And I want to challenge you today, young people. Whenever you listen to this, I want to challenge you that you would make decisions based upon your values in life that you have determined to be pleasing to God. And God wants you to please Him. You're a special person. God has brought you this far in life, not just your educational life, but in life. He brought you this far in life, making you, fashioning you, young people, kind of like the potter's clay. He's fashioning you to be what He wants you to be. So let Him make you the way He wants you to be made. And if no one else goes along with you, you'd be willing to say, "I don't drink," or "I don't do this," or "I don't want to do that. What I want is I'll just take water. I'll take whatever God wants me to do." So young people, be serious about it. Think about your life. Think about your life, because your life is really important, and God wants to fashion your life. And you are in Christian education, young people, because of the education part, which is tremendous, and the Christian part. You want to learn the ways of God, and that's why we're here right now, is to encourage you to make wise decisions. And even if it seems like there's a little shame to it because they laughed at Wrong Way Corrigan, and then some people kind of got an idea. Maybe he really wasn't lost. Maybe it was an excuse. Well, we're not advocating that, but just enjoy Jesus and the things that He has for you. And we're proud of you, young people. God bless you.